coming off the back of the Nia switches I checked out during the QK100 video, we have 3 more nearly identical switches from Bsun, which are the Hifi and Kiki linear switches that sit neatly within the 45-cent price tag. Spec sheet wise, the 3 are all identical with a full palm housing, a really long 45 grand spring, LY stem, and come factory lubed. The only difference is that the blue Kiki has a 3.3mm of travel and the others have 3.6, which also makes these very similar to the Anias since they have the same material choice but instead have a different spring, travel distance, and method of factory lubing. And that's not to say that the Kikis or Hifi's lubing is inferior, it's quite the opposite. There's really good coverage on the front of the legs and leaf, as well as a good amount of lube on the side rails too. Out of the batch of 240 that Bolsa sent over to me, only maybe a small handful, like 5 or 6, were ever so slightly under-lubed, where I could hear just a little bit of spring crunch. There's no leaf tick either, which is a breath of fresh air, and I'm honestly really shocked at how consistent these switches are across the board. As far as feel is concerned, if you've ever tried any of the recent LY stem switches, they're dummy smooth. There's barely any noticeable scratch, a very pronounced sounding bottom out, which isn't too harsh to the touch. And paired with the long single stage spring, it's actually really snappy. And while the 3.3mm travel is a bit short for my taste, I prefer 3.5, it's still not super jarring to use, but that'll just come down to your personal preference. But moving on, I'm going to get these switches thrown into the mood Envoy to help y'all get a feel for the sound. As far as my ears can tell, the blue Kiki is slightly deeper than the 2 counterparts, and all 3 of these are also slightly deeper than my hand-lubed Ania switches. They all have a pretty low-sounding bottom out with a slightly softer top out, and overall have a pretty clean, deeper clack sound profile. And I know I've said this before, but at least to me, all the LY switches sound very similar to each other, and these are no exception. But all in all, Bsun makes good shit. For 45 cents for either of the variations, including even the Ania switches, you're getting a pretty good price to perceived value. All of these offer a smooth travel, snappy feel, great factory lubing, and generally just an amazing stock experience. If you're interested in checking these switches out, I'll have the links for them in the description. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Take care, and have a good one. Bye.